Welcome, everybody. Oh my goodness. We're just sat here and we're like, God, it feels so surreal because it's been so long. I was just saying to Charlie, how long has it been? Anyway, before I get off onto a tyrant, welcome back to the Bigfoot Hangout. It's been a while and we've missed you all and we've missed the show. But we are absolutely back with a bang, and we're so excited for tonight's show. And looks like we're getting a nice full room too. So welcome in.
We I looked back and it was Bobo. We had Bobo on in December, I think.
Was it December?
Yeah, it was December. Then the holidays, we opened a new Airbnb, so that took a lot to get the Airbnb up and running, and then just life, got in the way, and then we decided, maybe we don't do the podcast. Let's just focus on witnesses, getting interviews like I used to do. But then we kind of missed it, and we're like, man, we got to do it at least once a month, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know why, but Wes popped in my head. I don't know if I was listening to Sasquatch Chronicles or I can't remember what I was doing. I go, man, we need to ask Wes to come on.
But we had mentioned many times before, it'd be so good if we got Wes on the show.
Yeah, in the beginning when we were first putting it together,
and then he'd pop into the chat periodically, and it'd be like, "Oh, damn, we should really ask Wes."
Oh yeah, he did come on the chat a couple times.
Yes, he did.
And you said when you got into Bigfooting in Canada, you used to listen to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Years ago, and I'll tell this to Wes. In fact, he's kind of backstage, so he can hear. He knows. But years ago, the show that I cut my teeth on was Sasquatch Chronicles, and this is going back to not from the very beginning, because when I got started on his show, he'd already got like 200 episodes, and I think now he's over 1,000. I think, but he'd already got and I binged them. Like every time I'd go out into the mountains every weekend, I'd be camping, I'd have his show playing, I'd be driving out there, set the scene. Absolutely fell in love with his show, as I know most of you have also. And if you don't know what it is, you must have been living under a rock. But everybody here will know him, I'm sure. But yeah, I've got a history with the show.
I was gonna say that's, and she
before Charlie,
and she used to go camping in the mountains by herself. So she's by herself, listening to Sasquatch Chronicles, which I would not do. That would scare the daylights out of me, hearing some of those stories. And then to go set up a tent, and just you and your dog.
It was me and my dog.
And your dog, but still, it's pretty.
It was good. It's going to be an epic show, guys. Thank you for joining us. I'm not going to go through everybody. Since we're on StreamYard last, they've kind of changed the setup a little bit, and I can see the questions in the chat, but oh, I see Matt's here. I will say hello to. Oh, I got to do it. I got to do it. I do it. I'll do it. Okay, because it's been so long. DTCDT. I don't know who you are, but welcome. Debbie's here. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Mary. Sisters are back. It's good to have you. Lane's here. Welcome, Lane. Kimberly Godak is welcome. It's good to have you. Laura is here. Judy's here. Hey, Judy. Been meaning to get a hold of you all day, but tomorrow will do. David Huffer is here. Hey, David. Jim Dodge is here. Welcome. Kimball Palmer. Hi. How are you? See you online all the time. Jamie's here. Hey, Jamie. Hope you had a lovely vacay. Delphia's back. My favourite name in the world. Melissa's here. Lissa Lou. Hello. Jodie Turner. Welcome, Jodie. Shane is here. Hey, Shane. Matt. Welcome. Greg's here. Welcome back, Greg. Southern Ohio Bigfoot. Hello, guys. Happy to have you with us. Bill Stark's here. Welcome, Bill. And the Bigfoot expert is back. Hey, good to see you again. And I think that's about where we're at in chat, but welcome everyone.
And yeah, you better stop, because once we get going, people join the chat. So it'll grow as we go through the evening. It's only about an hour long. We're right around 10.
Well, we'll try not to keep
Yeah,
Wes
we don't want to
longer
keep Wes.
than an hour. We might be on a bit longer than
so,
that.
but just about an hour, and then I've got actually work to do, so I've got to get off. Lindsay, just a reminder to Lindsay, I've got a big Memorial Day sale going on for the company I work for. I got to get these ads uploaded. So
we'll chit chat a little bit after we're done with Wes, and fill you in on a few things that are coming in. But guys, get your questions in. I know Wes has got a lot to say. He's got a lot to share, and I know a lot of you have got questions lined up for him. So do get them in there, and we will do our best to get to them. But without further ado, we'll get on with this banger. I'm going to let Charlie take over.
All right. I'm excited as well to bring Russ on, hear a little bit about, what got him started, and maybe an encounter or two, whatever he wants to share. Any what do you call it? Stories that he finds fascinating.
His encounter.
So whatever Wes wants to talk about, we can talk about. So let's welcome Wes.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
Hello.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're so welcome.
Well, we really appreciate you taking your time, and I'm surprised that you're not on more of the conferences and festivals. Like, there's a lot of guest speakers out there. I'm surprised, unless you do some I don't know about, but do you ever go to conferences and speak?
Not really. Not really, to answer your question, to give you the short answer.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear my AC back there? Do I need to turn it off?
No.
We can't hear it here. I'm sure somebody will holler if they can.
No, I don't really go to a lot of conferences. I get invited to a lot, and I get invited to speak a lot. What I didn't like about the conferences, for the behind the scenes, for people who don't know, they pay for everything. So they pay for your hotel, they pay for you to speak, they pay. But the whole time you're there, you're kind of like at their will to go do what they want. And I remember one conference, I was like, no, I don't want you to pay for my hotel. I don't want you to pay for my airfare. I don't want you to pay me to show up. And he was like, so for me, it's kind of, I don't know. I guess to answer your question, Charlie, I don't really go to a lot. I get offered to come, which I'm very grateful for, but I don't really show up to speak to too many.
Yeah, I can see that.
Can I ask you a question, Charlie?
Yeah.
How in the world did you end up with a beautiful woman from Great Britain, which takes you up like 2 levels on the ladder of class, for a country boy in Kentucky? Do you have money that we need to talk about? Like, what is going on here? Let's get down to business here.
Lucky boy.
No, I'm either a really good salesman, or she wasn't thinking clearly, but she was into Bigfoot in Canada. She was a police officer, 20 years police officer.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that about you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I started in England, and then I moved to Canada. I did roughly 8 years in England, and then 12 years with Calgary Police.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah. So I got lucky.
And I quit it all for this guy in Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's hope for you, Wes. Still.
Yeah. There's hope for me. That's for sure. Lindsay, you got a sister?
You got a sister? Yeah. Well, they're married. Yeah.
I got 3.
I'm just joking. No, I don't really. I mean, what do you think about conferences, Charlie? It kind of seems like once you've been to one, you've been to all of them.
Yes, they're very similar. Same speakers. What I like about them, I've never been asked to do too much. Like, going in, I know I have to give an hour presentation. Usually the night before, a VIP dinner. Sometimes there's a hunt, but I know everything going into it. I give them my fee, and I use it like a vacation because like we're going to Pennsylvania this year. Where else are we going? West Virginia,
all over the map.
Ohio. Like we go everywhere the weekends, and it pays for itself. So that's kind of how I look at it, like a little mini vacation.
He does. They're
Yeah.
good.
Who
But
cares about Hawaii?
Yeah, yeah. I want to go on that cruise.
Yeah. I got invited to that cruise.
To
The
speak.
one that, yeah.
And you
Yeah,
didn't
I
go?
was like, I don't know. Do I want to be stuck on a boat?
Yes.
I'm kind of a, I don't know. I'm kind of a, what do they call it? Hermit.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
really
man,
want
that
to
would
go on
be
a
a great one
boat.
to go on the cruise. But yeah, you're kind of stuck there. Talk
Yeah.
about being at their mercy.
Well, if you need a +1,
No.
I don't mind being anybody's +1 on a cruise.
I'll lose my wife to Wes here in a second.
Oh, I doubt that after 5 minutes.
I already
Where's
told him.
Charlie at?
I'm a little starstruck. I told him that before we got started. It's true.
Oh,
But anyway,
don't
let's
be.
get on to the juicy stuff because I know people are dying to hear about all the Bigfoot.
Sorry, I feel like I started out kind of negative. I didn't mean to.
No,
Oh, not at all.
not at all. No.
Not at all.
But we want to talk about you mostly, and I know everybody wants to know this. Now, how did you get started, and was it because you had a sighting? Is that why?
Yeah, it was because of the sighting. I mean, when I didn't really buy into Bigfoot. I guess it really wasn't anything I ever thought about. And I used to hunt everywhere up through here, and I'd never heard anything. I'd never really ever seen anything. So if you asked me prior to my sighting, I was kind of on the fence, like, well, it might be true, it might not be true. Who knows? But the night of the sighting, it's kind of a sad story. It's my grandfather and my father both passed away during around the same time, around like a 2 or 3 month time period, and they both died of cancer, and which is a terrible disease. You know, my dad was a very big, intimidating guy. I mean, I used to see men be very intimidated by him, and after seeing when he had cancer, the second to last time I saw him, I carried him out to the ambulance, like in my arms, like a kid. And this is like a big, intimidating guy that, you know, but so we were going through a lot. My dad passed away, my grandfather passed away, and I was just kind of chilling at home. I rarely sleep now, I rarely sleep then, but I was wide awake, and Woody, my brother, had come by, Woody, and Woody's not one to really tell you how he feels unless it's like rage or anger. I mean, I hate to say that, he's my brother, but I mean, he's not going to like show you how he feels, you know, outside of those emotions. And I remember he came by, it was like 11 o'clock, 11:30, something like that at night. And he asked me if I was up, and I was wide awake. I was up, and he asked me if I would, he came in and we were kind of talking, but Woody's not really one to like open up. And I said, "Hey man, why don't we just go for a drive? Like, why don't we just go? Like, I don't feel like going to a bar. I'm not in the mood for I'm not in the mood for loud music. I'm not in the mood for nonsense. Let's just go for a drive." And so we did that. We actually did that night. And what happened is it, I'll skip the whole part of where the area is at, but we were on all these back roads, and I didn't really, back then I couldn't really tell you exactly where we were at. I kind of knew the general area, but if you told me, hey, go back to this spot, I couldn't have told you how to get back there. And it was a beautiful night, and we actually were talking about the past. We were talking about my dad, we were talking about my grandfather. And as we were driving through, we were out in Yakult. I guess it's kind of considered battleground, but we were coming around this this logging road, and we had our windows down. My voice cracked. We had our windows down, and it was such a beautiful night. We were just talking. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. And he had just bought a God, what is it called? A Ford. It's not Explorer. No, it's a Chevy Blazer is what he bought. And it was a 2007. And as he was coming up going up this hill on this logging road, he was starting to slow down, and off to our right is this it's not really a game trail, it's bigger than a game trail, but I mean, you could drive a car down it, but I don't know if you'd want to. But Woody, just buying this 4-wheel drive, was like, he stopped and he put it in 4-wheel drive. And by this time we had been driving around most of the night. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm gonna drive down this. I'm not 16. At this point, I kind of want to be in bed. Like, I don't want to get stuck out here. There's no cell phone service where we're at. And so I'm telling him, hey, don't drive down this road or this game trail or whatever this is. Let's just go. And he argued with me about it. And he got out of the moment we pulled up, it was so dead silent because we had our windows down. I'd never heard the forest that quiet. And I was already kind of starting to kind of sense something was wrong here. But as he's putting in 4-wheel drive and as he's getting out of the Blazer, he walks around to the front, and knowing Woody, I know my brother, he's going to come back and say, oh, it looks great. It looks good. We're good to go. Let's go. But the minute he opened that door, I swear to God, like, I felt like we were in danger, and I couldn't tell you why. I hadn't seen anything. I hadn't heard anything, but I felt like we were in danger. The minute he jumps out of the Blazer, I'm like, jump back, get back in here, get back in. I'm yelling at him, get back in the car, get back in the car. Now, I don't know if Charlie, you have brothers, but you don't tell your brother you're scared. You don't tell your brother because they're just going to break your balls for the next like 3 hours on, what he's scared of. I can just hear it. But I truly was scared. And so when he got back in, he goes, what's wrong with you? And I just said, listen, man, just listen. And he goes, yeah, it's quiet. I was like, have you ever heard the forest this quiet? We've been out hunting before at night. It's never been this quiet before. In fact, I would say the forest is more loud at night than it is during the day. And I'm like, yeah, it's dead silent out here. And about that time, so we're on this logging road, and on both sides is a wood line. And on the left, it kind of goes up Yakult Mountain, what they call Yakult Mountain. It's a hill. And you could hear something walking towards the car. I mean, it wasn't like it was charging us. It was taking a sweet time. It was like step, step, step. And you could hear it breaking things it would step on as it was coming towards us. But it sounded big. It sounded real big. And honestly, my first thought was people. I was like, okay, here we go. 2:00 in the morning. He wants to stop here. I'm already kind of getting irritated with him. But we're listening to this guy coming. And what he asked me, he goes, there's no flashlight. He goes, kind of looked at me like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. I guess it's a person coming. I don't know. And oops, sorry. And about that time on my side of the car, you could hear it coming in on my side, but it was more like step, 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 stop, step, 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 stop. And it didn't sound as big. Down the trail where he was wanting to drive down, we could hear something else coming up from down the trail. And I'm going through my head like, is this a military out here? Or are they out here from Fort Lewis? Like, I don't know if they're even allowed to do that, but I was like, I don't see flashlight. And then I'm thinking, okay, because marijuana wasn't legal. I'm like, we just stumbled into someone's marijuana grow out here. Great. And I reached in a week before in this general area, not where we were at, but in this general area, we were actually target shooting with our pistols. And I had left my gun in the back of his car in the case. And I said, "Oh, I'll just get it from you." Woody lived like 5 minutes away, so I was like, "I'll just get it from you another time." And I remembered our guns were in the back of the car, so I reached back and I grabbed Woody's pistol. I can't remember what he had at the time. I want to say it doesn't matter anyway. I reached back, grabbed his pistol, and I loaded it, put one in the chamber, and put it on safety, and handed it to him. And I said, "It's hot, safety's on." And I reached back and I'm grabbing my pistol because I'm thinking, okay, we just stumbled into someone's marijuana grow operation here. Like, we're either going to run into the coolest guys ever or the biggest dicks ever. And so I reached back, grab my gun, and as I look over, he has his window down and he has his gun pointed out the driver's side window, pointed at in the general direction of where we're hearing this footsteps coming in. And I told Woody, I said, don't do that. Don't I listen, if these guys want to fight, we'll give them a fight, but I don't want to provoke. This isn't Tombstone. Like, I don't want to provoke a fight, but if these guys want to fight, we'll give them a fight. But let's not provoke anything here. It's 2:00 in the morning. We're in the middle of nowhere, and I'm cleaning up my language from what I said to him. But so I load my gun, and we're just sitting there listening to these. It sounds like people walking towards us, but we can't see them. They're inside the tree line, and we're kind of on this open logging road. And the conversation went a little bit long. I mean, all this happened very, very quickly, but the conversation went, we were kind of like, okay, what do you think? Like, who are these people? And about that time, behind us, you could hear all the leaves, the brush kind of explode. And we still have our windows down, by the way. And I mean, it sounded like King Kong coming up behind the car. But we were parked like this. So we're sitting in the car like this. And if you look back, all you see was the sky. But you could hear the brush explode behind us. And you could hear this thing coming. It wasn't on two legs. I didn't see it, but I would imagine, from what I heard, I would imagine it would have been like a military crawl or something like, sound like a big guy crawling. And you can hear the brush and the leaves kind of move off the logging road as he's coming. But when it first popped out, it growled at us. And I'm even ashamed to admit it today, but that growl terrified me. I mean, I'd never heard anything like that ever in my life. I mean, I've heard animals growl, but not like that. And me and Woody kind of looked at each other, and I was like, he was thinking bear, and I'm like, that wasn't a bear. And it moves up like 5 or 6 feet, stops, and growls at us again. And it came up a total of, I would say, 5 times and growled at us. And every time it growled, it would move up 5 or 6 feet. 5 or 6 feet growl, 5 or 6 feet growl. Every time it growled, Charlie, I'm telling you this, it was more pissed than the time before it growled. And you don't get that with the natural animal. Like, when your dog, I know, Lindsay, you have a beautiful dog. Like, when your dog growls, it's always one growl. Like, they don't get more and more. You don't hear it come out. Like, almost like a person getting pissed. And it moved up again, growled at us, moved up again, growled at us, moved up again, growled at us. Probably the last time it growled at us, I would say it had to have been, and I didn't see it at this point, but it had to have been right at the back bumper. And that 4th and 5th time it growled, I physically felt that growl. I remember sitting there, and and I didn't notice I was doing it at the time, but I had my head in my lap. I was like down like this and almost like hunched over. I'm telling you, I felt like every organ in my body felt the last two growls, and it shook me. And I remember looking over because I was going to tell Woody, get us the hell out of here. And he was doing the same thing. He was like on the side of the steering wheel, like almost kind of slumped over. And we kind of look over at each other and make eye contact. And I was like, start the car, back up. And when you do it slowly, knowing full well we're going to hit whatever's behind us because it's right there. And he backs up and he gets back out on the logging road. And now we're in the direction of leaving this area because there's only one way in and one way out of this place. And he pulls forward and I'm like, oh, thank God we didn't hit anything. Let's go. He pulls forward probably 20 or 30 feet and he stops the car. And I'm literally, I won't say to you what I said to him, but I mean, there's a lot of F words, but I was like, what are you doing? Like, let's go. Like, why are we stopping? Let's go. And this logging road up there at Yakul, because of the water runoff, the road, it's not concrete, so it's dirt, but it's all this corrosion. It's all of this, the water just eats the road up. So you get all these potholes, you get all these, you can't do more than like 30 miles an hour on these roads because you will blow a tire if you go hog wild through there. And I remember him looking, and I'll back up for a second. Woody is one of those guys that I'm surprised he's not dead or imprisoned. And I say that with love, because he's kind of a shoot first, ask questions later. I've never seen him terrified or scared of anything in life ever. And I remember he looked over at me and his eyes were about this big. And with me swearing, trust me, with Woody, he'd be swearing back at me. He didn't swear back at all. He goes, I can't drive. And I remember he held his hands up and his hands were shaking. And I understood what he meant because I don't think I could have driven us out of there. My hands were shaking too. Like I was, and I hate to say that from a growl because you wouldn't think a growl would be, would affect you like that. But it did. I mean, I physically, and so anyway, we sit there and we are, I almost felt like a zombie. I was just like staring forward, just waiting for him to pull it together so we can leave. And I remember he looked over at me. He had been looking up through the window. He looked over at me and he goes, "Do you see what I'm seeing over here?" And I was like, what is it? He goes, I don't know. And I remember I kind of leaned over the driver's side and I looked out the driver's side window. It looked like me. It was just, I don't mean in appearance. I mean like in size. And I mean, it wasn't much bigger than me, but it was up in a tree and it was all black and it had its arms and its legs wrapped around a tree. But it looked, I would say it looked more like a person, except for the way it was holding onto the tree reminded me of a monkey. We had a sunroof in the car. And this thing, the way it moved, it reminded me of a meth head. Like it was holding onto the tree and it would look over. And it was real sharp, jerky motions, like it was trying to get a look at us. But it reminded me of a meth head. I like how someone on meth moves. And I just sat back down in my chair and I was like, I don't know. I was like, you talking about the thing in the tree? And he was like, yeah. And he goes, what is it? I was like, a monkey? He was like, a monkey in Washington. And when we both looked back up, because I was like, well, maybe I looked at it wrong. And I mean, I'm already kind of upset about the whole growl thing, which sounds like I should turn in my man card because of that. But I remember we both looked back up and it was gone. This thing was only 10, 15 feet away from the car. If I dropped out of that tree, you would have heard it. We heard nothing. It was just gone. And about that time, now on my side of the car, which was Woody's side of the car when he had pulled into that area, I'm on that side of the wood line where we heard something big walking in towards us. I heard this breathing, and it reminded me of a sick bear. And it was just inside the wood line, and we couldn't see it. And I was asking Woody, I was like, "Do you hear that?" And he was like, "Yeah." He goes, it would breathe in just as hard as it would breathe out, kind of like Darth Vader. But I would say more of a tone of a sick bear more than Darth Vader, but that same kind of tone or cadence Darth Vader uses. And I remember I was looking over at the wood line about where this thing was at, and my rearview mirror was right there. And I remember seeing a black flash go behind the car, stop for a second, and then take off. And I couldn't tell you the shape. It was just so quick. It was like there, and then it was gone. Then it came back, and it was gone. And I'm thinking at this point, like, and I've been in some scary situations in my life where sometimes if you let your mind take over, it'll let you go. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm freaking out. Get a hold of yourself. That's not, there's nothing back there. It's your eyes playing tricks on you. And about that time, Woody leaned over at me and he goes, "Hey, there's something behind the car. I think we're being surrounded again." And I remember telling Woody, I was like, I don't know what's going on up here. I just want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. Let's go. So as we're about to take off, and it was in Tony Merkel's movie, or in his documentary, but where it stepped off the embankment, it's all eroded now. It's more like 2 feet. But back then it was more like 4 or 5 feet up. And this thing had stepped off of the embankment on the road, and it took like 2 or 3 steps, and it would stop, and it would kind of turn its whole upper body and look at us. And I didn't know what I was looking at. It was the biggest thing I'd ever seen before. I mean, it wasn't a bear, and I knew it wasn't a man. Bigfoot didn't really come into my mind at all, because when I think of Bigfoot, I think of like Patty, and this thing wasn't anything like Patty. It was huge. I mean, it was, yeah, it was huge. It reminded me of, from being a bouncer, it reminded me of a guy who wants to fight in a bar. Like he'll kind of puff his chest out, kind of carries himself like a big gorilla. That's what it reminded me. I was like, whatever this is, it wants to fight. And I don't want to fight. But it would take 2 or 3 steps, cross the road, take its sweet time, stop, turn its whole upper body, look at us, take 2 or 3 steps, turn, look at us. It finally goes across this road, and I think I know why they have that weird walk, and you've taken reports from eyewitnesses, Charlie, where they'll say, what's the term? Where it's like gliding. There's a gliding motion.
Skates.
Yeah.
Like they're on skates.
Its knees were about where our shins are at. That's one thing that I did capture in that moment, that its knees weren't where our knees are at. Their knees are much lower. And anyway, so it goes behind this tree. It was a broken tree, and we figured out later it was about 9 feet tall. At the time, if you would have asked me, I would have said it was 20 feet tall. I mean, I was that like in shock of what I was looking at. But it goes behind this tree, and it just kind of stands there. We can still see it. It's not hiding. We can see it from the chest up. And I think that tree was like 8 feet. It's been a while. But anyway, we went back and measured it. But and it just stood there on the side of the road. And Woody's like, we're out of here. And I'm like, please don't drive past that. Please don't drive past that thing. Please don't drive past that thing. There was no doubt in my mind, with 2 of us sitting in a Chevy Blazer, 2007 Chevy Blazer, this thing could have flipped it on its side with us in it, and there would have been nothing we could have done about it. So he doesn't go. It comes back out into the road and doing the same thing where it kind of walk, turn and look at us, gets in the middle of the road, and it gets down like you would see a defensive lineman get down. And it started pumping its butt in the air. Like you would see a guy at the line on the line of, in the NFL. And I remember thinking that in that moment, like, please don't charge your car. Please don't charge your car. Please don't charge your. Because I knew, I want to say I had a 9 and Woody had anyway, our guns were too small. And I knew if this thing charged a car, we were at its mercy. There was nothing we were going to do. And it sat there and it'd pump its butt in the air and then it'd stand back up and walk back over behind the tree and just stand there and look at us. And Woody and I still argue about this. I say it came out a dozen times. Woody says maybe a half a dozen times. But it would do this. It would walk out in the middle of the road, get down like it was going to charge us, pump its butt, stand back up, and walk over behind the tree. And after about the third time, I told Woody, if it charges, shoot through the windshield. I'll buy you a new windshield and aim for the head. But I didn't want that outcome. Like I knew even if we shot it, we were going to lose. And it kept coming back out, and we couldn't figure out why or what it was doing. It was just, or what it was. I mean, it was just confusion that night. And I remember as we're sitting there watching it, this other one had jumped off that embankment. I didn't actually see it jump off the embankment. I just saw it in the air. It reminded me of a woman runner. Kind of had that build, and it was gray. And kind of a light gray, whitish type color. Kind of like a coyote or something like that. But it was midair, and it was actually like, had its arms and its legs out, lands in the middle of the road, bounces off of it like it's a trampoline, and goes off into the bushes, and it's gone. And I remember both Woody and I, we must have seen it at the same time. We sorry, I just had a coffee, so I'm like dying for something to drink. We both saw it. I remember both of us going, swear word, what is that? And watching it bounce off. I'd never seen anything move like that. I mean, it literally bounced off the road like it was a trampoline. The big one after that, the big one stepped out, and I remember thinking, okay, here we go again. And he came out in the middle of the road, but instead of getting down like a defensive lineman, he collapsed. Like if you would have blinked, you would have missed it. When I say collapsed, I mean like he literally collapsed down to all fours. And he was moving like a freaking... And Woody's actually the one originally that said like a spider. And afterwards, I was like, yeah, it was kind of like that. But he was on his fingertips and his back toes. He never turned his side to us. He was facing us the whole time. It looked like a freaking spider. And he stopped for a second, and then he crawled off into the bushes, and he was gone. And as soon as he went off into the bushes, I was like, go, 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 drive, drive, drive. And we must have done like 70 miles an hour coming down. Remember I said like 30 miles an hour, you're going to we must have done like 70 miles an hour coming down that mountain. I'm surprised we didn't crash. But that's what kind of got me into it. And for the longest time, I didn't really know I didn't know what we saw. I mean, if you asked me, I would have given you like a 7-year-old answer of like, we ran into monsters. I mean, that's really all I could say, because I don't know. And when I look at Patty, being kind of, Patty's built like a vending machine. This thing wasn't, man. This thing's shoulders were out, went down to a V. I've never seen anything like that in my life, ever. And it took us a long time really to come to terms with what we saw that night, because if you would have showed me a video of what we saw, I'd been like, oh, okay, we ran into Bigfoot. But if you show me a video of Patty, I'm like, kind of, I guess. It's kind of like that, but this thing looks like it would mop the floor with Patty. But that's what got me into it. And then when I got into the whole Bigfoot world, which is a dumpster fire.
Yes.
There was 2 podcasts at the time that were out, and they would always have the same Bigfoot researchers over and over and over and telling the same stories over and over. And they would speak with authority, and it took me a while to figure out, like, these guys don't know anything. You know what I mean? Like, they talk like they do, but these guys really don't know anything. And so I wanted to talk to eyewitnesses so that I didn't feel crazy. I didn't feel like, okay, maybe I had a stroke that night, and for some weird reason, me and Woody both saw the same thing, and maybe he had a stroke, or so I wanted to talk to eyewitnesses, and that was kind of the whole idea behind the show. Was that's kind of how it started. And then I was thinking, how do you prove Bigfoot or how do you change people's minds about Bigfoot? Because with the video, everyone's going to question it. With audio, everyone's going to question it. But with eyewitnesses, I'll cram it down the public's throat with these eyewitnesses so that people will start changing their mind. Like, oh, maybe people are running into something. And so that's kind of how I got into it. Sorry, long-winded answer, but that's kind of how I got into it.
No,
not at all. Fascinating story. I remember hearing it years ago. It's wonderful to hear it in more detail this time. So thank you for sharing that with us. Do you go back there at all? I know you said you went back and you measured the tree or something for. Yeah,
we went back. I can't tell you the time frame. It was relatively close to when we had the encounter, right? But we actually found a footprint from where it had stepped in the mud going back up the mountain. And I can't remember if I sent that to you or not, Charlie, but I remember we found this and I didn't know anything about casting, but we had found this footprint, and it was a relatively big footprint. But after a while, and just being up there, I just don't really want to be there. I hate to say that because I know I'm like, have a Bigfoot podcast, but it's like, I really just don't want to be there. I don't really want. It terrified me, and I hate to admit that. I feel like a small man. Like, I hear these guys that are like, "Oh, if I ran into Bigfoot, I'd put bullets in it." No, you wouldn't.
So you're not out in the woods trying to see it again, then?
Not there. No. Not there. I did go. We did go up there probably a few months later. I remember Woody telling me, because I think when everyone gets into Bigfoot, they're like, oh, I'm going to solve this in 6 months. I think everyone kind of has that arrogance when they first get into it. Like, oh, I'm going to solve this mystery. I remember Woody was wanting to go back up there. And I said, and it was at night. And I was like, why are you going back up there again? He's like, I got, he wanted to find answers. He wanted to, and I'm like, well, good luck to you. I hope everything works out, man. And then I kind of got to thinking about it, and I was like, man, if he goes up there and something happens to him, I'll never forgive myself. So I told Woody, I was like, I'll go back up with you, but I'm not getting out of the car. We're not walking around. We're staying in the car. And when we park, we're going to park like we're leaving. And so we went up there, and we never saw anything, but we did hear it sounded like a lion roaring, and it had to have been like a mile or two away, but it sounded like what I've heard on, TV, an African lion like roaring. And I remember we both looked at each other, and I was like, time to go. Yeah. I didn't know if that was Bigfoot or not, but I didn't know what it was. I was like, let's go. But to answer your question, Lindsay, I have been out to other properties. I have been out to I went to Texas and had another incident happen there. But as far as my encounter location, I just don't want to be there. I don't know what it is. It scared me that much to where
traumatic, yeah. We've got somebody from Texas. To briefly tell us about your Texas experience. Matt's from there. I'm sure he'd love to know about it. God
bless Texas, man. I was just talking about the Texans today with my plumber. I was like, man, the Texans are the greatest. And not to insult Kentucky, but when Merkel moved to Tennessee, you know, Tony Merkel from the Confession.
I didn't know he was in Tennessee.
Yeah, he was like, oh, you got to come down here. It's the best barbecue. I was like, I've been to Texas, Tony. Don't embarrass yourself. But no, I went down there with Bob Garrett and a bunch of people, and we went to this location. It was in east of the George Bush International Airport. It was out in the Sam Houston, and there's an area out there. It's a bird sanctuary, and I remember the guys were telling me about different things that have happened to them out there. And we go out there, and I remember the very first night, the guys were like, "Oh, do you hear them? Do you hear them?" And it was owls. And I'm like, I'm out here with all these crazy Bigfoot people, and they're going off about owls. And I'm like, it's owls, guys. And they're like, no, it's Sasquatch. I'm like, Jesus. But here's the thing: that owl call, it altered as it went on. It sounded more and more like a man doing a piss poor job of doing an owl call. And I was like, oh wow, because in the beginning it sounded pretty good, but towards the end it started messing up its owl call. And it sounded like a big owl. I mean, I would give you've heard of the 800-pound owl. It did kind of sound like that. It sounded like a big owl, but as it went on, and then it turned into gibberish. It was like two things gibbering back and forth, or arguing back and forth. And I remember looking at I was like, what is that? And we were out there, and night after night, it would happen in this one area. And it sounded like two groups arguing back and forth. And we were out there with a lot of people. A lot of people were with us that night. And I was out there with Bob Garrett, and we had a night vision camera. And we had this guy from, I want to say Michigan. He would not shut up. I mean, he just talk all night. So finally, I gave him the night vision camera, thinking, well, this will entertain him. This will train him up for long. And we were standing there, and the main group went off on this hike on this bridge, and it was me, Bob Garrett, and this guy from Michigan, and we were standing by the truck. And I remember seeing this, what I thought was a person. Well, let me back up. Around midnight, almost every night, there's a farm that sits. I'm doing a terrible job telling the story. There's a farm that sits back on this property away from the bird sanctuary. Around midnight, you could hear these things howl, gibber, and this guy would come out with a shotgun and unload it. And I remember looking over at the guys there in Texas, and I was like, hopefully he's not shooting in this direction. I mean, I realize the shotgun's probably not going to hit us, but every night this guy would unload his shotgun at midnight. Every night he'd come out and fire it off. And so it was around 2:00 in the morning. It was me, Bob Garrett, and this guy from Michigan. We were standing. When I say parking lot, I don't really mean like what you think of a parking lot. It was a gravel area, but I remember seeing this, what I thought was a person come across the road. And I was like, why don't they have their headlamp on? Why don't they have lights on? Like, what? And it wasn't that big. I mean, it wasn't King Kong coming across the road. It was probably, I would say, smaller than me. But I remember thinking that, like, is this someone from our group screwing with us? Because I'm really not in the mood. It's 2:00 in the morning. There's a warm bed I'd rather be in than be out here with you guys. So if you're going to play games, like, I'm not in the mood for it. And this thing, like, walked across the road, went in the bushes to the scrub, which I thought was weird. Because I remember thinking, like, what are they doing? And I'm watching them as they're going through the brush. And I'm watching them go all the way around us. And I'm like, what in the world? And I remember I leaned back at Bob Garrett, and I was like, and he was gone. Bob was actually already hiking up the trail to like intercept this thing. Bob's an old man. He's not going to like threaten anything. And so I told the guy from Michigan, I was like, wait here, I'm gonna go see, because I'm still thinking it's someone from our group. And so I said, wait here, I'm gonna go make sure Bob's okay. And I'll tell you a funny story. The day before, we had found tracks that looked like canine tracks that did not look like Sasquatch tracks. And I had told Bob about it earlier in the day. So keep that in mind. So I'm like, I'm going to go get Bob. So I turn around and I start hiking up the trail to go get Bob. And Bob stopped and we could still see this thing. It was doing like 180 degrees around us, but it was in the brush. By that time, you couldn't really see it, but you could hear it breaking the brush and everything. And I was like, Bob, what's wrong? Because I think it's someone from our group. And Bob's like, that's not someone from our group. And I start paying attention. And about that time, you could hear this boom, 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 boom through the air. And I knew it was a log coming. And there was a tree right in front of me and Bob talking. That log hit that tree. If that log would have hit me, it would have taken my head off. The next day, I couldn't lift that log by myself. It was that heavy of a log. And my eyes are about this big. And I look over at Bob and Bob goes, where'd you say you found those tracks? And I was like, Bob, what do you, I was like, what? Yeah, but that was my set. And again, I didn't really get a good look at it. It was just more like a black, seemed like a person coming across the road. And it wasn't much bigger than, it wasn't what I saw in Washington. So my mind didn't go to Bigfoot because it really wasn't that much bigger than me.
Right.
But yeah, we heard all sorts of things out there. Howls, lots of vocals, lots of tracks too.
Yeah, those are great stories, and I'm glad that you're sharing all that, because usually I talk too much when we do these, and I ramble on with stuff that I remember. So I'm glad, because I want people to hear your stories. I've never heard them before.
Feel free to ramble.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I know you find it exciting as I do, and Lindsay does, and other people do. So we have a couple questions in the chat that a couple people asked. If you don't mind, let's find a couple here.
Let me get back up there. So talk a bit about your show, Sasquatch Chronicles. How many are you at now? What's the number, Wes?
Oh man, I would even have to look. I think it's almost 1,300.
Is it really? Oh my goodness me.
Yeah. 1258 was my last show.
Right. Which one would be your favorite? You can only pick one.
Yeah.
Or top three?
That's a tough one. If I don't say, or go ahead. We're going to say.
Well, I was going to say, you can just tell us and people can look them up and listen to them. Like you could tell us the title or the.
One is 515. It was Claire from.
Here we go.
She's from your part of the country, Lindsay.
Yes, I remember listening to that one. That one just blew me away. I still think about it, and I still hear her voice describing exactly what happened. She told that story so well. It was on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
In the UK?
She's from the UK.
Yeah, she's from the UK. She was here on business. She's pretty high up in the I don't know if she still is, but she was pretty high up in the business world. Technology. She speaks like 5 or 7 languages, 8 languages, something like that. Yeah. And that one really I think what shocked me about that one at the time, not so much now because I've heard repeating behavior like this, but at the time, that male wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
And it was almost like the female was arguing with the male. That was Claire's impression. The female was arguing with the male not to kill her. That one, I think Anthony 419. I released it on April 1st, and I didn't even think about it. But I think some people think it's an April Fool's joke, and it's not. But Anthony, his encounter it's long, but I would say that one really surprised me. And in his encounter, there's some parts that seemed outlandish, but I'll tell you why I really believe Anthony. You'll generally find people who fabricate their encounters who they become the hero of the story all of a sudden. They become the one that saves everyone. And Anthony said a lot of things in his encounter that if he's making it up, I don't think I would have said, because I mean the way he was describing the young female, and different
Oh,
portions of it.
is this
They
the
would watch
one?
SpongeBob on. He would see the little ones come in. Anyway, what were you saying, Lindsay?
Not the one where he was kind of attracted to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, take it down a few notches here, guy.
I'm not laughing at him. I'm not.
No,
But
he was great. He was great. And that's
it
why I
was
believe
a
him.
phenomenal episode. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, he says a lot of things that if you're going to make up an encounter, you're not going to say because you just kind of look like an ass. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. He
You're a
took
weirdo.
it. Yeah. I mean, good for. He was very honest.
Yeah.
And he did say things that somebody that was making it up, I just don't think they would say that. But I don't know. That's a good one. So 515 and 419.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, if you can think of another one, Debbie is asking, have you had any discussions with Claire from the UK since her initial report?
Yeah, I've talked to Claire a few times. She's invited me to the UK. Claire's awesome. Claire's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll wait till the UK cleans up their mess there in London before I go.
I know. It's
I've
messy
always
everywhere,
wanted-
isn't it? Ugh.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to the UK though. Scotland. I've always wanted to see Scotland.
It's very beautiful. Scotland, especially, everywhere you look, it's just beautiful, and history.
That's what I heard.
This is a typical question, or not question, it's a comment. Do you believe they're interdimensional or, supernatural in any way?
I didn't in the beginning. I was pretty hardcore that it was Gigantopithecus, because I guess if I really had to describe what I saw, I would say it would be something like that. A little bit different, but kind of like that. Over the years of doing this show, I've had a lot of people humble me, like Dr. Bendernuggle. He used to always humble me all the time. I loved him, and he would always, when I would speak in absolutes with him, he would say, "Oh, I didn't know you had it all figured out. Well, tell me more." And that was kind of his old man way of putting me in check, basically saying, "You don't know everything." But going back to the question, over the years, from eyewitnesses that don't know each other that are describing this weird paranormal stuff that goes on. And I know a lot of Bigfoot researchers look the other way because it doesn't fit into their agenda on what Bigfoot is and what they want it to be and where they're, we got to get the scientists, we got to get the blah, blah, blah. I just started listening to people. And I remember the first time I heard paranormal stuff, I thought, well, this guy's insane. I mean, I'm sure there's medication for what this guy has. But then I would hear it again, and I would hear it again, and I would hear it again, and then I would hear it again. And after a while, it was like, this is weird. To answer your question, I don't know if they're interdimensional. I don't really know how I would describe that anyway. If you told me to describe, I guess from one dimension to another, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on with Bigfoot. I will say that, and especially on people's properties.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard to deny these credible witnesses that sometimes you interview them multiple times. Their stories never change. They're very intelligent, articulate. You're like, why are they making this up? And it sounds similar to what other people have said. You're like, well, there must be something to this. I'm not 100% there yet. I'm still more flesh and blood.
Oh, I think it's very flesh and blood. To answer your question, yeah, I think it's very flesh and blood.
I mean more. I think their abilities are due to their adaptation over thousands of years. So they're just smarter, faster, can spider crawl. They can do things we can't do just because they're bigger, stronger, have a better.
What about vanish?
Yeah, see, I don't quite believe that.
Cloaking?
I think their hair has special property that can refract light, or just like other animals do, cryptid colorization. Other animals, their coat can help them blend in. I've had people tell me they was standing in the sunshine, it would go back and forth, and it would like almost disappear completely in and out of the sunlight, and it looked like it was turning invisible. But he said it was a play on light as he was watching it. Another one fell in the water from a tree, started swimming, came out of the water, and he said the hair looked dry. The hair was blowing in the wind. So does the hair have special properties that can make it, look invisible at times?
Give me an example of another animal that's like that.
Gosh, there's some animals that can change color, but I'm thinking like
No, I'm talking about vanishing.
Oh, that can vanish.
Vanishing, I don't know. But you touched on something earlier when you said it dropped down so quickly, and I think that could be what it is. People glance away just for a slight
blink your eyes,
a millisecond,
and you blink for a second and it's down.
So fast,
but it was still there in the road. Even if I would have looked away and looked back, it was still there in the road. It was just in a different position.
But that would be more, I would think, more in the woods, like if it went below, some brush, or went behind a tree, or the lighting, hitting it, the hair properties.
Do you think they can cloak? Or you said no?
I've talked to too many eyewitnesses that said they vanished, and I'm talking cops, judges, people, and not that they are more credible than a hiker or a hunter, but I've heard it way too many times to where I'll tell you the biggest example. And I've told this story a million times. I had these two brothers on the show. I'll give you the very, very short version of the story. They had reached out to me because, and they were actually in Indianapolis. Yeah, they have a bunch of property out there. And I'll skip over the whole part of how the encounter started, but these guys were saying they were going to start shooting these. They were asking me, what kind of ammo do you think they need to shoot these things? And in their mind, they were shooting a bunch of apes. And I would have agreed with them at the time. But I told them, I said, guys, when it's your property, I would advise you not to shoot at them. There's too many weird accounts of these things kind of having a revenge streak to where I wouldn't shoot them on your property. If it was my property, I wouldn't. But you guys are big boys. You guys do what you want. And so they had this whole plan together. And about 4 to 6 months later, one of the brothers contacted me, and he goes, "No, we took care of it." But I'll skip over that whole part. He basically said to me, he goes, "Wes, they're not apes." And they had pictures of them too, by the way, that did look like apes sitting in tall grass on their property. The reason why I didn't post the pictures is you could see the house, the road, you could see everything where they live right there. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he goes, and he really didn't want to go into it at all. He didn't want to talk about it. I was like, "You got to tell me." And he goes, they vanish. And I go, "What do you mean they vanish?" Because I thought all this was nonsense. And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "in the trees, you'll see them come down out of the trees." And he goes, "It looks like," and he goes, "when they come down to the ground, it looks like water in the air." And I go, "What do you mean water in there?" He goes, "Like pollution. Like it looks like you can see the outline, but it looks like pollution." And these guys were hardcore, like these are apes. And they told me a bunch of other things too. Like, he goes, "Their eyes light up like Christmas lights." I go, you talking about eye shine? He goes, no, their eyes glow like Christmas lights. And they told me a bunch of weird things. But if I would have said that the same thing those guys were saying to me 6 months prior, they would have been like, this guy's insane. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's completely. And you hear it though. You hear it when they're on people's property. I always ask people when they have these things on their property, where do you think that they go? Like, where are they hanging out?
Right.
No one has an answer. And over all of these years, you know, catching up to the mountain gorilla, I'll tell you one thing about the mountain gorilla. Locals used to talk about this ape-like man that was a mountain gorilla. But if you go back and you read some of the older reports, at no point is there anything paranormal. Not once is it ever brought up. And then it took a couple of years and they found the mountain gorilla. With Sasquatch, if you go ask the Native Americans, 8 to 9 out of 10 tribes will tell you a bunch of paranormal stuff about Sasquatch. They don't call it that, but I mean, it's weird that we haven't been able to catch up with this thing. So I don't know. I think there's too many weird things with Sasquatch. Whether I think it's interdimensional, I don't know. I don't think it belongs here, I guess, is my short answer.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we were at a conference in Alabama, Anita's conference. I think it was the first one that she did down there. And there was a doctor, and I don't know if it was his wife or his co-worker, who was also a nurse, came up to us. Highly educated, very reasonable people, you know, well-spoken. And they told us about the doctor had seen one clearly, as clear as night and day, walk through a portal right in front of him. He saw it vanish through a portal.
But when you hear that though, like, what does that mean? What do you mean a portal? Like, and then you ask someone to explain a portal, and it's like,
yeah,
they have no. When he said portal, did he say what it actually walked through?
I couldn't recall exactly what he said, and we didn't interview him. I don't know why we didn't get an interview from this guy, but it went through, I guess, it was there 1 minute and then kept walking and then vanished into some kind of haze. I don't know. So maybe that was his, maybe that was cloaking, but he saw it as going through a portal, whereas really it cloaked as it kept walking. I don't know. I don't know why we didn't get an interview from this guy. We really should have.
It was shocking because he came up to our table, and I remember like he had a suit on and was very sophisticated in his dress, and she was, and they only said a couple things, and then he said, I saw one walk through a portal. And I think it caught me off guard because
that would catch me off guard.
I actually thought he was going to joke, like he's joking with me, and he didn't. He wasn't joking. But we never did interview him further. We were at our booth with people coming up to us, but it did catch us off guard because he was so put together and intelligent, and the way he was talking to us. I'm like, wow.
I don't know. You do hear some very strange paranormal things around Bigfoot, and I've heard, not recently, I guess you hear things tend to come around in trends. I think a while back you used to hear people talking about a shimmer. You'd see a shimmer in the woods, you know, and there'd be other strange things going on, and that kind of got related to Bigfoot sightings as well. And then the light in the forest, which you hear a lot when people see Bigfoot in the area, then they also mention the light,
the orbs,
and stuff like that. So there are weird things, but I think in general there's strange things happen in the woods. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot. You hear about odd things all the time.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Lindsay. And I think the point though is, like, when I would talk to people, they would say, yeah, I started seeing these creatures show up on my property 3 years ago. And then, oh, and by the way, I'm also seeing these weird lights that showed up around the same time. And I don't know if the lights are. I had a great light video I meant to bring with me, Charlie, but I didn't have time to grab it. The lights come up a lot, and I always thought these people were crazy talking about these lights until I saw one. But you're right. I mean, with Sasquatch, you know, there's a lot of weird paranormal stuff that goes on, and like with Cliff, I always love to give Cliff a hard time because he was like, well, he kind of like what you're saying, Charlie. He's like, well, their hair, I think their hair has a special property. I'm like, tell me more. Like I use a John Bennernagel, like, tell me more, tell me more. And I'm like, what other animal does that though? You know what I mean? Like, give me more.
Oh, I just thought of it.
Oh,
It's not completely, but this is probably a poor example, but a polar bear, their hair is actually clear. It's not white.
yeah.
But they look white. So it's kind of like that. And we know supposed Sasquatch hair, there's no cellular medulla in those hairs, where they can do some of that absorbing or refracting light to help it blend in.
Yeah, but people don't talk about polar bears vanishing.
No,
You know.
no. But you know, so being super quick, intelligent, I like to say they have a high environmental IQ. So, you know, they're the ninjas of the forest, literally.
Yeah.
And when you're out there, they move so much quicker than we do that I think they could almost appear like they disappear. But you know, I'd have to see one and then not see one.
I get that.
You know,
Yeah.
personally.
And I think most people are like that, Charlie. I think I mean, for long, if I hadn't heard it so many times, I'd be right there with you. I'd be like, I'd have to see it to believe it, you know?
Yeah.
Jay Zakatako, it's been a while. It's good to have you back, man. Hey, I just encountered a young Bigfoot behind the door window. Interesting, with glowing blue eyes. In Rockford, Illinois, October 12th, 2025. I'm Jonas from Chicago.
Oh, there's a guy there that'll come on your show.
There you go.
Nice.
Get a hold of Wes, or you
Yeah,
can
contact Wes. Make
Wes,
sure you
or contact us.
contact him and get on his show.
Yeah, feel free to contact me or even contact Charlie. Charlie is one of the nicest researchers I would say out there. So you're good. You're in good hands either way. Either way,
Well,
probably better with Charlie. He's smarter than I am. But
no. I just enjoy it like you do.
My favorite was the one with the military guy that had a standoff when the juvie fell in a hole. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a good one. Speaking of which, do you think the government knows, Wes?
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, I mean, I shouldn't have answered your question that way. I hate when researchers are like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." The reason why I believe that they do is all of the encounters in on military bases.
Right.
And here's the other weird part. I mean, and I love your feedback on this, both of you. If Sasquatch is a great ape that we haven't caught up with, or whatever it is, I remember I've interviewed a few guys off of the Palm Desert military base. What's it? Palm. I had this problem on my own show. I can't remember the name of the base. They were military police. You know where Palm Desert, California is at, right?
No.
I know where California is.
We know where California is. That's about it.
It's a desert. It's when I was there, I think it was before summer and it was like 105. It's brutal. And there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to, I don't even know where you get water out there. But I interviewed military police, and I'm talking about outside of like here in Washington with Fort Lewis and all the other places. This is like Palm Desert in California where there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. It's hot. It's 1,000,000 degrees. And I had military police come on from that base over the years that would see them all the time run across the base.
Yeah.
And I would ask them, well, so what happened? They'd be like, we can never catch up with them. They would actually get into secure areas and we couldn't figure out how they would get in there. And he goes, we could just never catch them. And he goes, we started writing reports. And then we were told not to write reports. And then we were told not to chase them. And then we were told. So I think the government knows, but even in that example, when you think of like Palm Desert, California, how would this thing live out there? I don't get it. Unless what's that, Lindsay?
Where does it go?
Yeah, exactly.
Same
Where does
question,
it go?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where's it hanging out?
You've heard the Zuby account. You guys have heard the Zuby account, right? In California?
I don't know. What's it about?
Can't remember.
So in Alpine, California, I want to say this was back in the 60s or 70s. This doctor gets pulled over. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but Babineau, I want to say his name is Dr. Babineau. He is pulled over for speeding going home. So they pull him over. The cop, which I later talked to, he's retired. He lives in LA. He pulls him over, and as he's walking up to his car, his whole backseat is guns. Think like Neo in the Matrix, where he's like guns, lots of guns. That's how this guy's car was, just packed full of guns. And so the cop comes up and he's like, "Hey, I pulled you over for speeding. 29 Palms. Thank you, Matt Langford." Or no, I'm sorry, Lane Stanley. Sorry. 29 Palms was the name of the base. So this cop pulls this guy over and he's like, "Yeah, I pulled you over for speeding. What's the deal with why are you so armed?" And the guy's like, "I'm not a criminal. I'm not a terrorist." He was like, "I'm a doctor." And he started pulling out, I can't remember what the cop told me. He pulled out a bunch of paperwork to prove he was actually a real doctor. And he said, I have the guns for the Zubies at my house. And the cop was like, "Okay." So he starts describing these creatures at his house. This guy's actually, I think he was a psychiatrist, by the way. He starts describing these creatures at his house on his property. And I've been out to the doctor's property in Alpine, California. And the cop's like, and the cop told me, he goes, I didn't believe it. He goes, "On the internet, it says Zubies." The doctor said Zubies. He goes, "What I remember is the doctor said zombies because their expressions never changed. And they had a battleship gray skin complexion, but they were hairy." And he goes, he was basically describing like a Bigfoot, but he called them zombies because they were stone faced and they had this gray, battleship gray skin color. And so the doctor, basically realizing the cop's not buying it, invites the cop to come out. He's like, "If you don't believe me, come out." And the cop went out there and he goes, "I saw the creatures on several occasions. They would harass this guy. They would bang on his house. They would throw rocks at his house. As he would come out, they would growl at him. I think they bashed in his back door." But the cop told me, he goes, "Not only did I see one, I saw several of them out there." And the cop invited other officers to come out on their downtime. And when I went out there, here's the weird part. There's really nowhere to hide. Maybe the landscape's changed. But Alpine, California is kind of a high desert, so it's like scrub brush. It's not like the Pacific Northwest where there's a million places. There's nowhere to hide, but it's kind of a creepy property. And even down there, I was thinking, where would they get water? Like, where would they hide? Where would they?
Yeah.
No answers,
Yeah. I've not heard of that one. Is that one of yours?
No, I didn't write it up. It's been on the internet forever.
How did I look that one up?
Yeah, when I posted it if you look up Zubies of Alpine, California, it should come up. But yeah, I remember the cop, he's retired now in LA. He goes, he didn't say Zubies. He goes, I remember him saying zombies. Yeah. And he told me why.
Yeah, I'm not sure which is more terrifying.
I wish a lot of these stories, there's follow-up where, investigators can go out, scientists could go out, like that story there, and maybe, document some evidence or enough to prove they're real. I doubt you're going to catch one, but I wish there was more follow-up on some of these remarkable encounters.
I know. Yeah, it becomes just a story, And
Let me ask you. Can I ask you? Oh, I'm sorry, Lindsay. I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
go ahead. Go ahead. You're fine.
Can I ask you though, Charlie? I mean, what evidence are you going to collect that we already don't have?
Yeah, it would have to be more more video, more, some DNA maybe, and some just a bunch of evidence without killing one in one spot. Like have scientists, academics there that are say not even biased, that are skeptical, that are they're there, but get a lot of evidence in one spot. And that's why Kentucky, the Erickson project, I was hopeful before it fell apart that they would get enough evidence, and then lawyers got involved, and then some hoaxing got involved, and it fell apart. But I would really wish one of those, not habituation sites, but someplace where we know they're at all the time, and we brought in some scientists that were again not biased, and they gathered enough evidence without killing one.
And I'm not breaking your balls. Don't think I am, Charlie. I love to pick your. I respect you a lot, so don't think me questioning you is like.
Oh no, not at all.
You're one of the few guys that would actually ask questions to. Most Bigfoot researchers, I wouldn't bother asking questions. But like, what kind of scientists would you have come out?
I would have people, anthropologists. Have a array of scientists, biologists. You name it. All these different zoologists. Whatever they study animals. Even a doctor maybe, but have a wide variety of them. Have them collect the data scientifically, without it being contaminated or any kind of bias involved, and prove it. But I always say to everybody that we need a body. I mean, even if you get the best video now, it's not going to prove anything. But a body is what it's going to take. And we just had I won't go into it. We had an opportunity maybe to find one that was buried, a dead one in Kentucky. I'm not so sure the story is true.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Well, his dad had shot one, and years ago, and they buried it. It was a juvie. He said it looked human-like, but covered in hair. They put it in a burlap sack. They buried it near the family graveyard. This was like 50 years ago. Right now, though, he had contacted me, and the family's in poor health, and he wants to show me where it is. So there's some red flags throughout the story. So we didn't go down there, but it could still be true. But what I'm getting at is it brought up, what do we do if we find a dead one? Do we take a motor and a finger, and then do we call? I told Lindsay I'll call the news, because that way they can film it, and before the government comes out.
I would not call
but
we would not call
I know I'm joking, but what do you do? Because as soon as the government finds out, they're going to take it.
You get an attorney.
Yeah.
I would get an attorney before I'd call the news.
Yeah, attorney.
I would take a hand. I would take a significant part of the body, and that would be gone before I told anybody.
Well, let me
in a freezer somewhere.
Can I ask you guys this? If it's nothing more than a non-human primate, flesh and blood we haven't caught up with, why would the government come take it? Why would they care?
Well, the only thing that could be because it is from another world.
Money.
Well, I think part of it is money, and who gets the force? Do they get the force, or do we get it? That might be an issue. They have shot and killed them. I know in Fort Knox, they killed 4 of them. I've got a deathbed confession on my YouTube channel about that. Now I've heard other people in Fort Knox, sergeants, that have seen them. But then they got to admit or come clean on, did they kill them? People aren't going to like that if this these things have feelings and emotions, and it's not a spotted owl. These things look human-like. They got families, and so people wouldn't be happy. I think
if they came clean, if it came out tomorrow that they are real and they're out in the forest, it'd have a massive effect on tourism, the logging industry. Then would it have human rights? Like, how intelligent is it? Is it an animal? Do we need to protect it? Are we taking its land away? There's so many implications that the government would be forced to deal with, and I doubt they're ready to do that, if they ever will be. And then the questions that would transpire, like, is it biblical? Is it a creature of God? Is it Nephilim? All these questions would come up and would have to be answered. I think it's just a massive, massive can of worms that they're never going to want to answer. There's too many implications, and there's a lot of money at stake. So I don't think we're ever going to see Bigfoot pronounced real on the news. It's never going to come out on CNN. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I don't think the government cares too much about the logging industry. I don't think the government cares about, the Navajo have a tradition that basically says when the wild man, or whatever term they use for it, comes out for everyone to see, the end of the world will happen. Makes you wonder why the Navajo,
Yeah.
like a weird thing to say,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. I do know there are some reports in Kentucky. I'll make a long story real short. Basically, the men in black showed up in black SUVs. The DNR showed up with semi-automatic weapons because the lady was attacked by a large creature. The whole story changes as throughout the weeks. They covered it up. It's a long story, but it was all covered up afterwards.
Where was it at, Charlie?
This is in Kentucky.
Okay.
Where it turned, we can tell it was a cover-up. It's a long, drawn-out story, but I was excited about it because we think it was a Bigfoot attacked this lady and actually sent her to the hospital. All the neighbors came out and saw. They ushered her away in an ambulance, and But my point of this was, I've had people tell me, because the government came in at the end, the DNR and such, with semi-automatic weapons that blacked out SUVs, and they supposedly removed it. Now, we don't know if they really did, but someone had told me that they come in and they do remove the rogue, the bad ones. They'll come into an area. But then the part that bothers me, how can the government capture one of these? Like, I know they have a lot of technology we don't have, but how can they just come into an area and confiscate, the bad Bigfoot? I don't know how that works.
That's a good question. Yeah.
So, but I do have stories of the Men in Black type scenarios.
But again, if it's just a normal animal,
yeah,
why bring out all the guns and all the fancy? You know what I mean? You're not gonna do that. If this lady had been attacked by a bear or a cougar, you'd have a DNR guy out there with 30-06 going to go find it and put it down, hopefully finding the one that attacked the woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's stuff I like to ask. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard the whole government, as far as them knowing. I think they absolutely know. And it wouldn't shock me, like what you're talking about, Charlie, where they sent out these ones to, can't have a woman talking about this large, unknown, that doesn't exist creature that attacked her,
Yeah, and it was right by a national forest, so that wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to
ask you one question about that, Charlie. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Lindsay.
No,
Did they say
on,
why it attacked her?
No, so I'll tell the story briefly again, but I'll fill in more. I was friends with a sheriff deputy, and the sheriff deputy was watching a vacant property that was boarded up. It was a big farm, and supposedly the night before, Saturday night, early morning, a lady came home from work. It was a bunch of trailers, so it's down a dirt road with a bunch of trailers, and she was attacked by a large animal, and they called EMS and they showed up, and the neighbors all came out, and the word was it was a large animal at first. That's what everybody said. That's what the sheriff deputy said. Some large animal did something to her. And I said, well, keep me posted. He goes, well, wait till you hear this. The next morning, a DNR contacted me, or Fish and Game, and they said, can you come unlock the gate to that property? Because we need to get back in there. That property sits behind the road where the lady was attacked. Mm. As he got there Sunday morning, there's 2 blacked out SUVs parked next to the road. He gets up, and Fish and Game actually were there with semi-automatic weapons, which I never heard of. And he unlocked the gate, and he said, okay, we got it from here. You can leave. So he left. And again, he's telling me this Sunday night. I go, keep me posted. You know, I hear more about it. So midweek, the whole story changed to a meth bust. It was a meth bust. So what about all the neighbors who said it was a large animal? Why did that change? What would, Fish and Game be there for a meth bust?
That actually makes
me add up, and then the blacked out US SUVs didn't add up.
That actually makes me think it's probably a legit story. The fact that they changed it to a meth bust, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's stuff like that. This is coming from a sheriff deputy. So, I mean, I don't know why he would even make the whole thing up in the beginning for no reason, but yeah, stuff like that gets you thinking. But we can go on all night, Wes.
Well, before you wrap up, there's a couple of questions. I'm
in no rush. Feel free to ask away.
All right, thanks. And then we'll wrap it up here.
Thank you.
I got to wrap it up because I got to do some work, actually.
You got to work, yeah.
I got to.
All right, where was I? Okay, I think we answered your question, Matt. How many encounters has Wes had in total outings? So I think it was like 1,300. So move on to Cryptic Crystal. Has Wes ever heard the Glag story? If so, what's his opinion?
All right.
I guess you have.
Trying to think of how to word this. So I interviewed the guy. The guy's passed away, so I don't want to especially someone who's I never speak poor of the dead, but I interviewed him, and his encounter was a roadside crossing, which was great. You know what I mean? It was then he had contacted Duke, and he had this long, drawn out story about how he trained Bigfoot to fight. He grew up with the Bigfoot. He taught it karate. I mean, on and on. And every time Duke had this guy on, the story became more out there. And I remember I was telling Duke at the time, we're not really friends now, but I remember he's a friend of the show. I remember telling Duke at the time, I was like, Duke, be careful with this guy. Because when I talked to him, he had a roadside crossing. And now he's like Mr. Miyagi teaching Bigfoot karate. Like, this guy, there's something wrong here. And yes, so I've heard the story. I don't think, I know the guy that passed away, he was dealing with drugs. And I don't know if it was a drug fueled. It just went on and on and on and on. I hate to be negative, but his story became this, it's like a fish story. The farther you get away from it, the bigger it becomes. And that's how this guy was. And every week he had a new Glag saga of like, I taught Glag how to read. I taught Glag how to, and I'm like, so anyway, I'm not so sure I buy into it. I guess I should have started with that. So
I've never heard that story, but I will tell you this: that happens more often than not when somebody has a legit sighting in the beginning, and then they get Bigfoot on the brain, and I don't know if they think they're hearing and seeing things over and over again, or they just because they get the power of suggestion and things keep happening, or that they like the attention and they just make up stories. There's some kind of psychological thing that goes on sometimes with witnesses.
I agree. And being popular in the Bigfoot world's like being the skinniest kid at fat camp. I mean, it's really not that impressive. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't want attention in the Bigfoot world because 90% of everyone's just going to crap on you. So I don't really get why people do that, but
Yeah.
All right. B Dark Moon. Does Wes believe in Dogman as much as he believes in Bigfoot? What are your thoughts on Dogman?
I do. I didn't in the beginning. The guy that really changed my opinion he's kind of a famous hunter. And if you go into hunting stores and you buy different game calls, you actually buy his call. This guy was probably, when I interviewed him, probably 70, maybe 80. He had gone out to this property between Louisiana and Texas to get rid of a predator on the property. He was paid to go out there. And when I interviewed him, I didn't realize who this guy was. And later when I looked him up, I was like, oh, wow, that's the guy I interviewed. Shows you how much I prepare. But he's the one that really changed my opinion on it. And he didn't even call it a dog man. He didn't know what to call it. He called it a werewolf. But he was down in the bushes and he was doing a game call. It was a wounded rabbit call. And he said, what I saw was the largest wolf I'd ever seen in my life come down this hill towards me. And he's armed. It's a trap waiting for this predator to show up. And he said, as it was coming down and he's sitting in the bushes, so it can't really see him. He goes, as it was coming down the hill, it stands up like a man. And it starts sniffing the air, almost like trying to find him or trying to find the wounded rabbit, I'm assuming. And he goes, Wes, it zeroed in right on me. And I was looking through the scope. He goes, I was basically had it looking down the barrel. And he goes, it stood like a man. He goes, it was he goes, I guess like a werewolf. He goes, it had a canine head, but he goes, it stood up like a man. And he goes, once it realized I was pointing, it saw me. He goes, it took off. And he goes, I've never seen anything run that fast in my life. And he goes, it didn't take off on 4 legs. He goes, it took off on 2 legs. So you start to hear accounts like that. But I know, like for you, Charlie, you're probably thinking like canines can't stand up on 2 legs. And I'm with you. I agree 100%. I don't know any other canine that stands up on 2 legs and runs around, to threaten people. I can't think of one. They aren't built that way. Most of their weight is on their front legs. So a dog, while you might have a cute dog that stands up on 2 legs and takes 1 or 2 steps, they're not going to run 500 yards at like 60 miles an hour. I don't know what it is, but I do believe people are out there. For the longest time, I thought, well, maybe it's like a baboon, like a Sasquatch, like an offshoot of Sasquatch, and people are confusing that snout for a canine when it's more of a baboon. But everyone I've asked, they're like, no, it was canine. It was like a dog. It wasn't like a baboon.
Like the ears, they see the large pointed ears, the legs that look like they're bent backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different. Although there's one Bigfoot report, and then we gotta end the show. There was one, and I'm not gonna get into it too much. It's kind of over where the sheriff deputy reported all that activity. She drew a picture of it. She went to school, the school bus early in the morning. She saw it, and then she got on the bus after it crossed the road, the dirt road in front of her. She's going to the school bus, ran off in the woods. She ran to the school bus, went to school, drew a picture of it, like immediately drew a picture of it, which she still has. She gave it to me, but this happened years ago. It looked because the audio interview, she says it looked like a man, but it had a dog's face and had a muzzle, had ears. I can see the pointed ears, not on top of the head. She just said pointed ears. But anyway, she finally sent me the sketch. It looks more like a Bigfoot. Like if you look at the sketch, I wish I had it.
Oh, wow.
With a little prognathism, but not like you would draw a werewolf.
Right.
Like if I put it next to, I would say it's more Bigfoot than it was werewolf. But she kind of recalled it with a snout, pointed ears. So there are some cases I've come across where it could be like a deviation of a Bigfoot.
I agree with you. I've come across some too, like what you're describing, where it really doesn't sound like a dog man. But what do you think that is, Charlie? Do you think it's just a different type, or do you think it's more of a
that one I think could be paranormal, supernatural, and come from another world, because I can't explain a dog man. There's no family tree other than dogs, canines, but like a Bigfoot, I can say it's a hominid. You know, it could be like a Denisovan or some other type of hominid that has not gone extinct. So I could look back at the fossil record and say it could be Gigantopithecus, it could be this. A dog man, you can't go back.
Saint Christopher was said to have a dog head. Like over time, I forget the name of those dog-headed beings, but they're throughout history. You can find records of them, and there's some maps that actually show images of them too. But Saint Christopher is depicted as a dog-headed man. I wish I could remember that crazy name that they gave to him, but
yeah, I know exactly.
That's it. Cynocephalus.
Yeah. Cynocephalus.
Not syphilis.
Thank you. Lori just said it.
Thank you, Lori. Yes.
Oh no. That wasn't it. That's the name.
Yeah, I think it's cynocephaly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know, even Marco Polo talked about them. If you guys go and read his diaries, he talked about these freaking dogmen.
Werewolves. I mean, they've been around, and even back in London, you know. And where was the other ones that they thought it was a werewolf? There's some historic ones, but yeah, there's a lot of mystery out there. I wish we could talk longer, because I really gotta get off here and let you enjoy the rest of your evening. What time is it there? 7:40?
Yeah.
7:44. Good. Well, you have the rest of your evening to enjoy. Wes, we both can't thank you enough for coming on our show.
It's been a great show. Appreciate it very much. I feel like we could talk.
Pretty sure it might have been a stretch with having me on, but I appreciate it.
Well,
it's been a great show.
We're big fans, and continue doing what you're doing. We're going to keep documenting our encounters as well. And maybe one day before we die, we'll have proof.
Yeah. Well, it was my pleasure. And I've always... What's that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
you.
No,
go ahead.
Make sure that we plug your show so people know where to find you.
That doesn't matter.
Everybody knows anyway.
No, I appreciate it. I've always, like I said, out of all of it, and I've always wanted to meet you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
But I know, like Charlie, you know, there's very few good human beings in this subject, and I've always respected Charlie, the way he carries himself, the way he handles eyewitnesses, the way, and I honestly can't say that about too many people in this field, man. There's a lot of dicks. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but huge egos, and I've always respected you, Charlie, and it was my pleasure coming on my rambling.
Well, no, I appreciate it. It made me feel good, because there are times, as you know, we doubt what we're doing because of all the politics and the, you know, like a dumpster fire, like you said, and sometimes I want to get out of it. But hearing you give me such a high compliment really makes me feel good, and to keep going on.
I strive to be like you when I very first started. I was like, I need to be more, you know, don't let your ego get ahead of you. Don't let, you know, so
I would say you're very humble.
Yeah, you are. And
appreciate that.
Very humble, and it's always nice to listen to your shows. It's good the way you present them. You allow the witness to talk, ask them questions at the end. It's not a show about Wes, it's a show about them and Bigfoot, you know, and I think that's appreciated by thousands. I know you've got nearly 100,000 followers, so clearly you're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you everyone in chat who showed up. That's to listen to a knucklehead like me. I appreciate it.
No, you're awesome, Wes.
No, it's been a great show. Thank you. Hopefully we can do it again sometime, and we can.
Yeah, anytime.
And, yeah, if you want us back on your show or want me, let me know. If you're
bring Lindsay. She's easy on the eyes.
Okay, we'll do it. I'll bring her along.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Wes. We'll drop you down. You take care. Have a good night.
Have a great night, guys.
All right, bye-bye. All right, guys. That was an epic show, wasn't it? Wonderful to chat with Wes. I'm sorry we didn't get to all your questions. I know I've probably missed a few. The chat was pretty busy, but we had to wrap it up.
Well, we wanted to listen to Wes.
We wanted to listen to Wes.
Sometimes I forget. I don't have to ask questions, or I don't have to interject and say, "Oh, this happened to me too." I try to, at least in the beginning, most of the show, I let just Wes tell his stories, which I think everybody loves. I loved hearing those stories. I don't think I've ever heard those stories. You know, we all love the stories because we want to be there. We want to live vicariously through them and have that experience, even though it's traumatic and, you know, messes with you. But there's a guy on here that someone mentioned that should go on Sasquatch Chronicles, and that's Jimmy Cox. Jimmy Cox, if you're listening, we interviewed Jimmy, as you know. He was a bow hunter that came face to face daytime with a Bigfoot. Very traumatic experience. Jimmy Cox should go on Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yeah, you should. Well, I'm sure Jimmy would love to. You should exchange contact information with him.
I'll send the information to Wes on Jimmy's information. Jimmy's one of those storytellers too that tells a good story. Like, you know, what I mean by that is he's very detailed. He's articulate. You can hear his emotion. You can tell that he came face to face with a Bigfoot.
Now you're talking, Debbie. Here you go. Charlie and Lindsay, see you in Stanton at Bigfoot Fest. Yes, next week.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up. Next weekend in Stanton, Kentucky is the Red River Gorge Bigfoot Festival. It's free. We have Dr. Maria Mayer there from Expedition Bigfoot. We have Russell Accord from the same show. We have Adam Davies, Lyle Blackburn, Ken Gerhard, myself, and then tons of family activities, all free. Go to rrgbigfoot.com.
And a drive-in movie, a movie in the park afterwards, 2 of them.
On the drive-in, we're showing The Legend of Boggy Creek, which Lyle will be there, so Lyle can talk about it, which is awesome. Also, the second movie is Land Between the Lakes. Adam Davies was in that movie, and it's actually a documentary of researching Bigfoot in LBL in Kentucky, and they had a frightening encounter. They filmed it. It was actually in the movie, or I say movie, it's a documentary, where the cameraman dropped the camera, literally, and they ran out of there. And Adam is as straight, level-headed man as you ever meet. And Adam said to me, "Charlie, I've been all over the world. I saw multiple Bigfoot that night that came into our area, and we left." And so when Adam says that, you know, I believe him 100%. And they caught some of that on video. I don't know how much of it you see because it's dark and such, but the Land Between the Lakes will be showing Saturday night, after the festival at the drive-in, all free. But again, rrgbigfoot.com. You can read about all the activities planned. I'm going to put it in the chat here. RRG Bigfoot. Where's that at? Bigfoot.
Not Bigfoot.
I can't spell. I'm putting it in the thing. Man, I cannot type. Did that work? Let's see.
Close.
All right.
There you go.
Bigfoot. No, I put Bigfoot.
RRG. They got it. They got
All
it.
right.
RRGBigfoot.com.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Anyway, it'd be
there
good
we
to
go.
see many of you there. We've got a booth, so make sure you swing by and see us. Come say hi. We'll have whiskey with us and Angelo. Who was that? Somebody put that they stayed at our little. We used to have a little hotel in Clay City. Somebody said they stayed there. Hello.
Oh, well, that's small.
Two or 3 years ago.
All righty.
All right, guys. It's been such a fabulous show. It's been so good to be back. I guess we'll do another one in about a month. Don't know if we'll have a guest yet, but we're aiming to do at least once a month. But because it's kind of a busy time for us, it probably will end up being just one a month. But
if something comes up and we have a great story or experience or a guest that happens to pop up, we will maybe do this more often, maybe twice a month. So.
We'll see. Anyway,
all right.
It's been fun, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Be safe. See you next week. And if we don't see you at the festival, we'll see you online.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Okay.